In the year 1191 AD, the echoes of past crusades still lingered across the Holy Land. Saladin, the formidable conqueror of Jerusalem, had been pressing northward into Syria, seizing city after city. His relentless advance, however, was checked at Acre. There, the Christian army, bolstered by the timely arrival of Richard the Lionheart, the newly crowned King of England, wrested the stronghold from Saladin's grasp. Before the siege of Acre, Pope Gregory VIII had already called for a new crusade, determined to reclaim Jerusalem, lost to Saladin in 1187. Responding to this divine summons, the Crusaders rallied under Richard the Lionheart and Philip Augustus of France. Together, they embarked on a perilous mission to liberate the Holy City. With Acre secured, Richard understood the necessity of capturing Jaffa before any march on Jerusalem. The city's port was vital for supplies and reinforcements. And so, in August 1191, Richard began a calculated march along the coastal road toward Jaffa. Saladin, equally determined to defend Jerusalem, mobilized his forces to halt the advance. Richard commanded his army with meticulous care. Haunted by the memory of the Crusaders' disaster at Hattin, he knew that water and discipline were paramount. To shield his men from the searing heat, the march took place only in the morning hours, with frequent halts at wells and springs. The Crusader fleet shadowed the army along the coast, carrying supplies and offering refuge for the wounded. But danger was ever present. Saladin's horse archers struck relentlessly with missiles and hit-and-run attacks. Richard, however, held his men together, enforcing strict formation and iron discipline. The patience of the army was tested, but the Lionheart's steady hand preserved cohesion. By early September, Saladin realized that mere harassment would not be enough. He resolved to commit his full army to a decisive battle. On the morning of September 7, 1191, the Crusaders marched in tight formation. Infantry with spears, crossbows, and bows guarded the flanks and baggage train under Henry of Champagne. The Templars held the right wing, while Breton and Anjou cavalry secured the left. Knights from Flanders, France, and Jerusalem filled the center, with Richard himself commanding 4 squadrons of Norman and Anglo-Norman horse. In all, the Crusader host numbered about 15,000, including 2,000 heavy knights. As they advanced, a forest loomed on their left. From its edge, Saladin's army emerged like a phantom. He took position with his personal guard, his son Al-Afdal, and contingents from Syria and Damascus. By mid-morning, the Crusaders reached the plantations near Arsuf, fatigued and searching for a place to encamp. Seizing the moment, Saladin unleashed his attack. Light infantry and horse archers surged forward, raining arrows and javelins upon the Crusader left wing. Horses fell, knights staggered, and the column began to waver under the relentless assault. On the opposite flank, Saladin's cavalry tried to encircle the army, threatening annihilation. Unable to bear it any longer, the Hospitallers launched an unauthorized charge. Thousands of Crusaders surged after them. In that critical moment, Richard acted. Though the charge was not his plan, he seized the initiative and ordered a full counterattack. The Lionheart himself rode at the head of his knights. The Muslim lines buckled under the shock of the heavy cavalry. Dust, steel, and screams filled the air as Saladin's men fell back in disarray. Many broke and fled toward the forest. Richard, fighting with the ferocity of a warrior king, cut down foes with relentless determination. Saladin, however, rallied his guard and sought to stem the rout. Richard launched a second great charge, driving back the counterattack. Yet, cautious of an ambush, he wisely halted the pursuit at the Treeline. When the dust settled, the Crusaders had won a decisive field victory. Their infantry suffered around 700 dead, while knightly losses were light. Saladin's army, however, was devastated, with nearly 7,000 men slain. Though victorious, Richard had not destroyed Saladin's army. The road to Jerusalem remained uncertain. Yet Arsuf was a blow to Saladin's reputation, tarnishing the aura of invincibility he had held since Hattin. For Richard, it was a triumph that cemented his legacy as one of the great captains of the medieval world.